11:09 a.m. The South China Sea, 114 miles west of the Philippine island of Palawan. The sky at flight level 260 was a deep, cold blue above the scattered cloud layer below. Visibility unlimited in every direction, the kind of clear mid-morning over tropical water that makes the world feel ordered and predictable and safe. The sea below was a brilliant turquoise and green patchwork, visible through gaps in the cloud, ancient and indifferent to everything happening above it. Blade 41 was a United States Air Force C-130J Super Hercules, operating in the intelligence, surveillance, and reconnaissance configuration. A signals collection and electronic intelligence platform, assigned to the 374th Airlift Wing but flying on this mission under the operational authority of Pacific Air Force's intelligence. She carried a crew of 7, 2 pilots, a navigator, a flight engineer, and 3 signals intelligence operators working the specialized collection equipment in the modified cargo bay. Her flight profile was a standard rectangular orbit pattern at flight level 260 in international airspace, in a corridor that had been flown by American ISR platforms dozens of times in the preceding 18 months. Her transponder was squawking. Her position was fully visible on every air traffic control radar in the region. She was operating in international airspace, on a flight plan filed with Manila Air Route Traffic Control Center, in a corridor that no international law of any kind restricted. At 11:09 a.m., 2 People's Liberation Army Air Force J-16 strike fighters emerged from the northeast on an intercept vector, closing at high speed. They had launched from Woody Island in the Paracels 41 minutes earlier, climbed to cruise altitude, and turned southwest on a pre-planned intercept, heading that PLAAF planners had calculated weeks in advance. They were not conducting an unplanned interception. They were executing a pre-planned operation against a specific target on a specific day. The J-16S made no attempt at standard intercept communication procedures. There was no radio contact on emergency frequencies, no wing waggle, no visual signal. The lead J-16 closed to within 400 meters of Blade 41's starboard wing, then fired a single PL-15 beyond visual range air-to-air missile from inside the minimum safe separation distance, a range at which Blade 41's crew had no warning time, no maneuver room, and no countermeasures employment window that could have altered the outcome. The PL-15 impacted Blade 41's number 3 engine at 11:11 a.m. and 44 seconds. The warhead detonation destroyed the engine nacelle, severed the wing spar at the outboard pylon, and produced immediate catastrophic damage to the hydraulic and flight control systems routed through the right wing. Blade 41 rolled violently to the right and entered an uncontrolled descent through the cloud layer. The aircraft commander and co-pilot fought the controls for 41 seconds. They could not recover the aircraft. At 11,000 feet, with the descent rate exceeding 8,000 feet per minute and the right wing partially separated, the aircraft commander ordered bailout. All 7 crew members egressed. All 7 parachutes deployed. Blade 41 impacted the South China Sea at 11:13 a.m. and 17 seconds, 18 miles west of her last known position, producing a debris field across approximately 2 square miles of open ocean. In Beijing, the Central Military Command had authorized the operation 72 hours earlier. The Blade 41 pattern had been identified by PLAAF intelligence through 3 weeks of observation. Her routes, her orbit timing, her altitude, her electronic signature on Chinese SIGINT collection systems. The operation had been assigned a sanitized designation and briefed to the CMC as a lawful enforcement action against unlawful intelligence collection in Chinese sovereign waters, framed around the 9-line territorial claim that the international community did not recognize but that Beijing treated as dispositive. The strategic calculation was precisely constructed. 7 American military personnel in the water in the South China Sea, their last known position in a remote area. The weather window closing. Their survival equipment rated for a maximum of 18 hours in tropical water. The nearest American search and rescue capable assets, the CMC had assessed were at Clark Air Base in the Philippines, 143 miles east. Transit time for a helicopter, approximately 65 minutes at best speed. By the time an American rescue force arrived, the CMC calculated the two J-16S would have returned to Woody Island. There would be no Chinese military presence on scene. The incident would become a mystery. An aircraft destroyed, a crew in the water, and no surviving evidence of what had occurred beyond the wreckage and the testimony of 7 survivors, whom the current of the South China Sea might or might not cooperate with for 18 hours. The CMC had not shot down an American aircraft to take its crew prisoner. They had shot it down expecting that the crew would be lost, that the South China Sea and time would accomplish what they did not wish to be seen doing directly. They had made 6 catastrophic mistakes. The first mistake: Blade 41 was not flying alone. She never flew alone. The signals intelligence configuration of the C-130J produced a radar cross-section and electronic profile that was, if observed in isolation, that of a large, slow, unarmed 4-engine turboprop in a predictable orbit. Observed with awareness of the full operational picture, it was a collection platform flying in a threat environment that Pacific Air Forces had been treating as requiring fighter escort for the previous 4 months, following a series of increasingly aggressive PLAAF intercepts against American ISR aircraft in the South China Sea corridor. The 2 F-22 Raptors of the 199th Fighter Squadron assigned as Blade 41's covert escort, flying an MCON, no transponders, at flight level 390, 12 miles northeast in a position optimized to observe any intercept approach from the direction of Woody Island, had been tracking the 2 J-16S from the moment they launched. Their presence was not known to Blade 41's crew, who had been briefed only that fighter coverage was active in their operational area. It was not known to the J-16 crews, whose radar systems detected nothing at the escort position, because F-22 radar cross-section at that range on that aspect angle produced a return smaller than a large seabird. The J-16 crews flew their entire intercept approach, unaware that 2 of the most capable air-to-air combat aircraft ever built were watching them from 12 miles away. The second mistake: Blade 41's emergency locator transmitter activated automatically on water impact at 11:13 a.m. The signal reached the Joint Rescue Coordination Center at Manila within 4 seconds. It also reached the Pacific Air Forces command network via the emergency satellite relay that the ISR aircraft's communication suite was designed to trigger in exactly this scenario. A dedicated emergency channel that transmitted not just the ELT location, but the aircraft's last recorded GPS position, altitude, heading, speed, and a 14-second burst of final flight data recorder telemetry. Pacific Air Forces knew at 11:13 a.m. and 7 seconds that Blade 41 had been lost. They also knew from the flight data burst that the loss was not mechanical. The G-force spike, the engine parameter collapse on number 3, and the ballistic descent profile were collectively consistent with one cause: weapon impact. The distress relay also activated the pre-positioned response package that had been sitting in the Pacific Air Force's crisis response system for 4 months. A package specifically designed for the scenario of an American aircraft shot down over the South China Sea by PLAAF assets. The third mistake: the crew survival assumption that the South China Sea would do what Beijing did not want to be seen doing: underestimated American survival equipment. All 7 crew members had exited the aircraft carrying AN/PRC 148M BITR radios in their survival vests, activated automatically on bailout. All 7 survival vests contained GPS-equipped personal locator beacons that began transmitting the moment the vest inflation activated at egress. Within 90 seconds of the last crew member exiting the aircraft, Pacific Air Force's rescue coordination had GPS coordinates for all 7 personnel accurate to within 15 meters, transmitted via satellite relay to the Joint Personnel Recovery Center at Clark Air Base. The CMC had assumed 7 personnel in an unknown position across 2 square miles of ocean. The actual situation was 7 personnel whose positions were known to within 15 meters and whose radios were transmitting on frequencies that rescue assets were already tuned to. The fourth mistake: the rescue assets at Clark Air Base were not the only assets, and 65 minutes was not the true response time. The 2 F-22s of the Escort pair, call signs Sabre 11 and Sabre 12, had observed the entire engagement from 12 miles, had tracked all 7 parachute deployments via their AESA radar in passive tracking mode, and had the surface positions of all 7 crew members computed by the time the last parachute entered the cloud layer. They were already descending toward the debris area, their pilots transmitting on the rescue coordination frequency. They had the positions, they had the time, and they had one additional capability that the CMC had not factored: the ability to establish and maintain air superiority over the rescue area long enough for the actual rescue assets to arrive, and the authorization under the pre-positioned response package to engage any PLAAF or PLAN aviation asset that threatened the rescue operation or the personnel in the water. The fifth mistake: Woody Island was 111 miles from the shoot-down position. The 2 J-16s that had conducted the attack were returning to base, but Woody Island's garrison included additional PLAAF assets, J-10C fighters assigned to local air defense, that the CMC had placed on alert status in anticipation of American response. The CMC's assessment was that the alert J-10Cs would be able to reach the shoot-down area before American rescue assets, establish a presence, and deter recovery operations through the implicit threat of escalation. What the CMC had not assessed was that the F-22s were already there. Sabre 11 and Sabre 12 were in the rescue area before the J-10Cs launched. By the time the first Chinese alert fighter was airborne, the F-22s had 17 minutes of positional advantage and were between the J-10C's approach vector and the 7 American personnel in the water. The sixth mistake, the one that collapsed the entire operational concept, was the assumption that the United States would hesitate to use force in response to the shoot-down of an American aircraft and the attempted abandonment of its crew. The pre-positioned response package had been approved with a specific provision: any PLAAF or PLAN aviation asset approaching within 30 miles of the rescue area while American personnel were in the water was to be treated as a threat to those personnel under the law of armed conflict provisions governing rescue operations. The authorization was not subject to real-time National Command Authority approval. It had been pre-approved 4 months earlier. The rules of engagement were clear. If Chinese aircraft approached the rescue area, the F-22s were authorized to engage. What happened in the next 67 minutes was the most precise open ocean personnel recovery operation in the history of Pacific Air Forces, executed under active threat in international airspace with the outcome never in serious doubt. At 11:13 a.m., the moment of Blade 41's water impact, Sabre 11 and Sabre 12 descended through the cloud layer and took up positions over the debris field at 8,000 feet, circling in opposite directions to maximize radar and visual coverage of the surface below. Both pilots had direct radio contact with all 7 crew members within 4 minutes of reaching the surface coverage altitude. All 7 were in the water. All 7 reported no serious injuries. All 7 had survival flotation activated. The flight engineer had a minor laceration on his left hand from the egress sequence. 6 personnel uninjured, 1 with a minor wound. All conscious, all communicating, all with their survival equipment functioning. At 11:15 a.m., Pacific Air Forces activated the full rescue package. From Clark Air Base, 2 HH-60W Jolly Green 2 combat rescue helicopters launched at 11:17 a.m., carrying para-rescuemen and full open ocean rescue equipment, turning west at maximum speed on a direct vector to the GPS positions of the 7 crew members. Escort for the HH-60Ws 2 A-10C Thunderbolt 2S from the 25th Fighter Squadron at Clark, carrying full gun and AGM-65 Maverick load for surface threat suppression if planned surface vessels attempted to interfere with the rescue operation. Flight time to the rescue area: 58 minutes. From Kadena Air Base on Okinawa, 4 additional F-22As of the 525th Fighter Squadron launched at 11:18 a.m., turning southwest at supersonic dash speed. Their mission: reinforce Sabre 11 and Sabre 12 over the rescue area and provide the combat air patrol coverage required to secure the airspace for the HH-60W recovery operation. They would arrive at 12:04 a.m., 4 minutes before the HH-60Ws. At 11:31 a.m., the first PLAAF response appeared on the F-22's passive radar systems. 4 J-10C fighters from Woody Island, climbing to altitude on a southwest heading, their own radars in active search mode. They were 106 miles from the rescue area and closing. The F-22s were between them and the crew in the water. The J-10Cs had no radar contact with the F-22s. F-22 radar cross-section, at 100 miles in a head-on geometry, was below the noise floor of the J-10C's active scan. They were flying toward an empty sky that contained 2 of the most capable air superiority aircraft on Earth. At 41 miles from the rescue area, the lead J-10C crossed the 30-mile threshold defined in the pre-authorized rules of engagement. Sabre 11 went active on his APG-77 radar at 11:44 a.m., illuminating all 4 J-10Cs simultaneously from a range of 37 miles in a targeting geometry. The J-10 pilots had 3 seconds to process before the first AIM-120D was in the air. Sabre 12 fired 1 second after Sabre 11. 4. AIM-12OD, advanced medium, range air-to-air missiles, 2 aircraft, 4 targets, in a time-on-target sequence designed to reach all 4 G-10Cs before any of them could complete a defensive break. The J-10 pilots reacted when the AIM-120D active seekers illuminated their radar warning receivers at ranges between 8 and 14 miles, depending on target geometry. At 8 miles with a closing velocity of Mach 3.2, the defensive break window is approximately 3 seconds. 3 of the 4 J-10Es executed defensive breaks. 1 did not react in time. AIM-120D Track 1, direct impact. J-10C removed from the battle space at 11:45 a.m. in 3 seconds. AIM-120D Track 2. The defensive break extended the engagement geometry. The missile tracked through the break. Impact at 11 miles. J-10C removed from the battle space. AIM-120D Track 3. The J-10 pilot broke hard right and dispensed chaff. The AIM-120D's home-on jam guidance activated. The chaff confused the primary track for 1.1 seconds. The missile reacquired on the aircraft's own jamming emissions and impacted the left engine bay. J-10C removed from the battle space. AIM-120D Track 4. The 4th J-10 pilot reversed his brake and went nose low, attempting to descend below the missile's radar coverage floor. The AIM-120D followed. At 8,000 feet, the J-10 pilot pulled out. The missile did not miss. J-10C removed from the battle space at 11:45 a.m. in 19 seconds. 16 seconds. 4 J-10Cs airborne from Woody Island. 4 removed from the battle space. Sabre 11 transmitted the engagement result to Pacific Air Forces at 11:45 a.m. in 30 seconds. Pacific Air Forces transmitted the engagement result to the National Military Command Center at 11:46 a.m. The NMCC transmitted a flash message to the U.S. ambassador in Beijing at 11:47 a.m. No additional PLAAF aircraft launched from Woody Island. No planned surface vessel in the operational area made any movement toward the crew positions. The rescue area was clear. At 12:08 p.m., the 2 HH-60W Jolly Greens arrived over the debris field. The 7 crew members had been in the water for 55 minutes. Para-rescuemen deployed from the first HH-60W on hoist to the 3 crew members in closest proximity, the navigator and 2 signals intelligence operators who had grouped together using their survival gear's buddy tether system. all three aboard the first HH-60W by 12:17 p.m. The second HH-60W recovered the 4 remaining crew members, the 2 pilots and the flight engineer, between 12:19 p.m. and 12:31 p.m. The flight engineer's laceration was assessed and treated by the para-rescuemen aboard the helicopter. No other medical treatment required for any of the 7 personnel. All 7 crew members of Blade 41 were aboard the 2 HH-60Ws and airborne by 12:31 p.m. Time in the water, 78 minutes. Injuries among 7 personnel. 1 minor laceration, treated on scene. The HH-60Ws landed at Clark Air Base at 1:47 p.m. The 7 crew members were met on the flight line by the 374th Airlift Wing Commander, the Pacific Air Force's surgeon, and the American ambassador to the Philippines, who had traveled from Manila the moment the Rescue Coordination Network had confirmed all 7 personnel were recovered. All 7 were assessed in the Clark Air Base medical facility and cleared. All 7 were in contact with their families by 2:30 p.m. The 4 J-10Cs removed from the battle space during the rescue CAP engagement. All 4 confirmed by wreckage analysis and radar track data. 2 of the 4 J-16S that had conducted the initial attack on Blade 41 were identified from their radar emission signature captured by Sabre 11 and Sabre 12 during the Escort mission. Their identification data, tail numbers correlated from the emission signatures, cross-referenced with PLAAF order of battle, was documented and transmitted to the State Department for the diplomatic record. American aircraft lost in the rescue operation, 0. Sabre 11 and Sabre 12 returned to Clark Air Base at 1:15 p.m., their fuel states having been managed through a single air refueling from a case C-135 that had launched from Clark at the moment the rescue package activated. The 4 F-22As from Kadena returned to Okinawa at 3 p.m. Both HH-60Ws returned to Clark. Both A-10Cs, which had maintained surface threat suppression coverage throughout the rescue and whose services had not been required against any surface target, returned to Clark at 1:55 p.m., American service members having sustained any injury in the entire sequence of events. 1 flight engineer with a minor laceration treated and returned to duty status. The 7 crew members of Blade 41 were placed on administrative stand-down for 72 hours for personnel recovery processing and debriefing. In Beijing, the CMC convened at 2 p.m. The operation that had been designed to eliminate an American ISR capability and allow the South China Sea to accomplish what China could not be seen doing directly had produced the following outcomes. 7 American personnel recovered unharmed. 4 J-10C air defense fighters removed from the battle space over international waters, and the radar emission signatures of both J-16 crews in the American Signals Intelligence record. The PLAAF's attempt to establish that no Chinese military personnel had been present at the shoot-down scene had failed completely. 2 F-22 crews had been present for the entire engagement and had the full radar and electronic record. No statement was issued. No acknowledgement was made. The 4 J-10 pilots' families received no official notification for 11 days. The 7 crew members of Blade 41 flew home to the United States on a C-17 transport 72 hours later. They received no public ceremony. Their names were not released. The South China Sea looked exactly as it had on Tuesday morning. Blue and turquoise and ancient, spreading from horizon to horizon under the tropical sky. Blade 41 was gone. Her crew was home. The C-130J that replaced her in the ISR rotation over the South China Sea was in the air 3 days later, orbiting at flight level 260, transponder squawking, flying in international airspace with its escort. This is what happens when you shoot down an American surveillance aircraft in international airspace expecting the sea to finish what you started, and discover that the aircraft you cannot see has been watching every second of your approach, has the GPS position of every crew member before the last parachute deploys, and has pre-authorized rules of engagement covering every fighter you launch from the island you launched them from. This is what happens when you calculate that distance and time are on your side in the South China Sea, and do not account for the aircraft that was already there. The crew is home. The Escort is still flying. It always was.